Before we begin, I want you to consider something you've never truly questioned, the possibility that most of the choices you believe you made were never really yours. Pause for a moment and think about the last few years of your life, the people you allowed in, the people you pushed away, the dreams you chased, the opportunities you ignored, the habits you formed without intention, the emotions that drove your reactions, the patterns you kept repeating even when you promised yourself you would never repeat them again. What if I told you that beneath all of these decisions lies a silent force, a hidden architecture that has been choosing long before you ever decided? Most people think they choose consciously, but the truth is darker and far more fascinating. You don't choose with clarity, you choose history. You choose with wounds. You choose with fears. You choose with memories you don't even remember. You choose with patterns that were written inside you before you learned how to speak. And this book is not here to give you new choices. It's here to show you the invisible system that has been choosing for you your entire life. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Think about it. How many times have you said, "I don't know why I keep doing this. How did I end up here again? Why do I feel drawn to the same situations? Why do my decisions feel predictable?" Even to me, because your life is not shaped by the big decisions you make once a year. It is shaped by the small, silent decisions you make every single day, without thought, without awareness, without resistance. And the most dangerous choices are the ones you don't realize you're making. But here's the breakthrough. The moment everything changes, the mind that chooses automatically can also be reprogrammed consciously. And once you understand the patterns that built your past, you gain the power to design the future. This book will take you inside those patterns, the emotional coding, the hidden beliefs, the unconscious strategies that have shaped your identity, your relationships, your failures, your successes, your entire destiny. So take a deep breath, put on your headphones, and step into a journey where every hidden decision finally becomes visible. Because the moment you learn to see your choices clearly, your life can no longer move in the same direction. And before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel. The book you are about to experience won't just inform you, it will transform you. The illusion of free choice. Most people go through life believing they are the authors of every decision they make. They say it with confidence. "I chose this. I decided that. I knew what I was doing." But the truth is far more complex and far less flattering. You may feel like you're steering the wheel, but your hands are often resting on a direction chosen long before you arrived. The human mind loves the idea of control. It loves the idea that your decisions come from conscious thought, from intention, from clarity, from logic. It feels comforting. It feels empowering. It feels like the world responds to the choices you make deliberately. But life doesn't work that cleanly, nor does the mind. Beneath every decision lies a network of influences you rarely notice. Patterns, memories, fears, habits, learned responses, expectations, environmental signals, emotional wounds, and subconscious equations that fire faster than you can think. You don't see these processes, but they see you. They shape you. They nudge you. They guide you. They predict you. And then they hand you a conclusion that you mistake for a free choice. Think about your morning routine. You choose the same cup, the same seat, the same path, the same reactions to the same minor frustrations, not because you decided freshly, but because you're repeating a pattern your body memorized years ago. Think about the people you are naturally drawn to. You call it chemistry, intuition, a good feeling, but in reality, your mind is scanning for familiarity, personalities, tones, behaviors that matches your emotional history. Think about the conversations you avoided, the tasks you delay, the habits you defend, the emotions you suppress, the meaning you attach to someone's words or silence. None of these things are random. They are programmed responses built over decades. You think you picked them, but they picked you. This is the illusion of free choice, a convincing story your mind tells you to protect your sense of control. Real awareness begins when you understand that most of your decisions were shaped, influenced, and sometimes completely decided before you ever claimed them. Here's something difficult to admit. Your impulses come before your reasoning. Your emotions come before your explanations. Your wounds come before your preferences. Your history comes before your logic. Your life, in many ways, is not a series of conscious choices. It is a reflection of the subconscious programs running underneath everything. But this is not meant to make you feel powerless. In fact, it is the beginning of your greatest power. Because the moment you accept that your choices aren't fully conscious, you gain the ability to make them conscious. The illusion of free choice is not the problem. The problem is living inside the illusion without ever questioning it. When you finally step outside it, even for a moment, you begin to see the truth. You were never stuck. You were simply unaware of what was chosen on your behalf. And awareness is the first real choice you've made it in a very long time. The subconscious mind makes the first move. Long before you say, "I've made my choice," your mind has already moved. Not slowly, not thoughtfully, but with lightning speed, so fast that your awareness arrives late to its own decision. Science has shown that the brain begins to act a fraction of a second before you consciously decide. In those milliseconds, the subconscious mind scans through your memories, your fears, your habits, your attachments, your emotional history, your learned patterns, and your hidden beliefs. It analyzes everything you've lived, everything you've survived, everything you've repeated, everything you've avoided, and then it chooses. Only after this silent decision does your conscious mind wake up and take credit. You say, "I thought about it. I decided. I chose this." But what you call choice is often just awareness, finally catching up to a decision your subconscious made moments earlier. This is why certain reactions feel automatic, why you shut down during conflict, why you avoid uncomfortable conversations, why you say yes when your soul wants to say no, why you feel threatened by harmless situations, why familiar personalities pull you in instantly, why certain environments make you uneasy for reasons you can't explain. Your subconscious is choosing first. It is responding to old wounds, old memories, old versions of you, old protections that helped you survive once, but may not help you grow now. And because the subconscious mind relies on patterns instead of logic, your first instinct is rarely new. It is recycled. You might think, "This is how I am," but more often, this is how you learn to be. You didn't choose that instinct. It was shaped for you by experience. Consider how quickly you judge a stranger, how quickly your emotions rise, how quickly anxiety enters your chest, how quickly your mind jumps to worst-case scenarios, how quickly your body either trusts or withdraws. These are not choices. These are programmed responses. The subconscious chooses quickly. The conscious mind explains slowly. This is why people often say, "I don't know why I reacted like that," because the real decision happened beneath awareness. But don't mistake this truth as a limitation. It is liberation, because what you can see, you can change. What you can observe, you can reshape. What you can understand, you can reprogram. The subconscious is powerful, but it is not fixed. It is not final. It is not fate. It is simply fast. And the goal of maturity is not to silence the subconscious, but to become aware of it, to question the instinct before obeying it, to interrupt the pattern before following it, to pause long enough for a new possibility to appear. Awareness slows the mind. Slowing the mind creates choice. Choice creates identity. When you understand that your subconscious often moves first, you gain the rare ability to move second with intention. This is where real freedom begins, not in controlling the first impulse, but in choosing the response that follows it. Your subconscious may make the first move, but your conscious mind can decide the rest of the journey. Patterns you don't notice but always follow. Most of the choices you make each day do not feel like choices at all. They feel natural, automatic, effortless, as if they simply happen without thought or intention. But nothing in human behavior just happens. There is always a pattern. Patterns that you formed years ago. Patterns that shaped your reactions. Patterns that taught you what to fear. Patterns that taught you what to trust. patterns that built your definition of normal, patterns that dictate how you move through relationships, work, conflict, and even silence. These patterns are so familiar that you mistake them for personality. You say, "This is just who I am. I've always been like this. This is my nature." But what you call nature is often just conditioning. You didn't choose these patterns. You inherited them, absorbed them, copied them, survived with them. And now, you follow them without noticing. Think about how you react when someone raises their voice, when someone ignores you, when someone disappoints you, when someone asks more from you than you can give, when someone gets too close, when someone pulls away. Are these conscious choices? Or are these learned responses from years of repetition? Most people live their entire lives inside the same emotional loops, the same arguments, the same mistakes, the same regrets, the same types of relationships, the same self-sabotage, the same limits, the same comfort zones. It feels familiar, and familiarity feels safe, even when it's hurting you. That is the paradox of human behavior. You return to what feels safe, even when it is destroying you slowly. Patterns are powerful because they operate beneath awareness. You follow them because they feel like the natural choice, not the best choice, not the healthiest choice, just the familiar one. Your mind does not choose what is right. It chooses what is familiar. This is why people stay in cycles they desperately want to escape. This is why they recreate the same emotional experiences with different people. This is why they repeat financial mistakes, self-limiting beliefs, unhealthy habits, and the same emotional triggers year after year. It is not because they cannot change. It is because the pattern is choosing faster than awareness can interrupt it. Your anger has a pattern. Your sadness has a pattern. Your attraction has a pattern. Your avoidance has a pattern. Your self-confidence has a pattern. Your fear has a pattern. Your silence has a pattern. And until you see the pattern, you cannot change the choices built from it. Awareness does not break the pattern, but it exposes it. And once exposed, the pattern loses its power to control your behavior in the dark. Imagine shining a light into a room you've walked through blindly your whole life. Suddenly you see why you kept bumping into the same walls, why you tripped over the same obstacles, why the path never felt clear. Nothing changed in the room. What changed was your ability to see. This is what happens when you recognize the patterns behind your choices. You finally understand why your life moved in the direction it did. And for the first time, you gain the power to move it differently. How childhood scripts decide adult choices. Every adult carries a child inside them. Not the playful child, but the programmed one. The child who learned what love felt like. The child who learned what fear meant. The child who learned what approval required. The child who learned which emotions were allowed and which emotions were punished. The child who learned how to survive the world before they even understood it. And that child, with all their unspoken lessons and emotional blueprints, still makes many of your decisions today. Long before you became an adult with responsibilities, finances, relationships, boundaries, and life goals, you were a child absorbing rules silently. Stay quiet to stay safe. Don't ask for too much. Love must be earned. Your needs don't matter. Conflict means danger. If people leave, it's your fault. Being good means being obedient. Disappointment is normal. Trust is risky. You must prove your worth. These were not conscious lessons. They were emotional imprints. You didn't learn them with logic. You learned them with survival. A child does not analyze their world. A child adapts to it. And adulthood, for most people, is simply childhood on a larger stage. The same patterns, the same fears, the same emotional instincts, the same reactions, the same beliefs carried into new environments with grown-up consequences. That is why the person who learned silence keeps you safe still avoids difficult conversations. The person who learned love must be earned still seeks validation in every relationship. The person who learned conflict is dangerous still shuts down emotionally when tension appears. The person who learned your needs are a burden still apologizes for having boundaries. The person who learned leaving is normal still fears abandonment, even in stable relationships. Your childhood scripts are invisible authors writing the story of your adult life. You do not remember the moment these scripts were created, but your body remembers, your subconscious remembers, your emotional reflexes remember, your patterns remember, your decisions remember. This is why your reactions often feel older than you are, because they are older. They were born in rooms you no longer live in. They were shaped by people who may not be in your life anymore. They were created for a world that doesn't resemble the one you live in now, yet you still obey them, automatically, instinctively, without question. This is not a weakness, it is conditioning, and conditioning can be rewritten, but only when it is recognized. The tragedy is that most people never examine their childhood scripts. They outgrow their homes, but never outgrow their programming. They gain freedom but live emotionally trapped. They grow older but not wiser. They make decisions with the instincts of a child inside an adult's body. Awareness is the beginning of emotional adulthood. It is the moment you ask, is this my belief or something I inherited? Is this my fear or something I was taught? Is this choice truly mine, or is it a script I'm replaying? When you question the script, you weaken it. When you see it, its power dissolves. When you challenge it, your identity strengthens. When you rewrite it, your future opens. Your childhood shaped you, but it does not own you. And the moment you realize you can choose your beliefs instead of inheriting them, you stop living the life your past designed and start living the life your future deserves. The hidden cost of automatic choices. Every choice you avoid, every reaction you repeat, every instinct you obey without thinking, carries a cost. Not a small cost, not a temporary inconvenience, but a slow, accumulating weight. That shapes your life far more than the decisions you make it consciously. Automatic choices feel harmless because they require no effort, no thought, no emotional risk, no confrontation, no awareness. But the comfort of automation comes with a silent price, one that most people never notice until years have passed. Automatic choices are expensive because they decide your life without your permission. The cost of unquestioned patterns. Every time you slip into the same reaction, anger, withdrawal, avoidance, people-pleasing, overthinking, retreating into silence, you reinforce a pattern that does not care about your future. Patterns want repetition, not progress, predictability, not growth, familiarity, not the truth. And so each automatic reaction keeps you locked in the same emotional place. You think you are choosing, but in reality, you are repeating. And repetition has a cost. It costs you new experiences. It costs you new opportunities. It costs you healthier relationships. It costs you maturity that life wanted to give you, but your patterns refuse to allow. The cost of emotional avoidance. Avoiding a difficult choice feels easier at the moment, but every avoided decision creates a consequence that returns stronger later. Avoided conversations become resentment. Avoided responsibilities become chaos. Avoided truths become confused. Avoided boundaries become self-destruction. Avoided emotions become emotional numbness. Avoidance delays pain, but it magnifies the cost. The choice you avoid today will cost you twice as much tomorrow and 10 times as much years later. The cost of fear-based decisions. Many choices are not conscious. They fear responses. Fear of rejection. Fear of conflict. Fear of failure. Fear of being alone. Fear of disappointing others. Fear of not being enough. These fears choose for you long before courage gets a chance to speak. And the cost? You live a smaller life than the one you were capable of living. You settle. You shrink. You silence your needs. You bend yourself into shapes that exhaust you. You accept relationships that drains your spirit. You give time to people and places that never deserved it. Fear-based decisions are invisible prisons, the cost of not knowing yourself. Automatic choices steal something more precious than time or opportunity. They steal identity, because when you keep obeying the same emotional loops created by childhood wounds, old beliefs, old fears, old survival instincts. You never meet the updated version of yourself. You remain stuck in a version of you that life outgrew long ago. Your choices stop reflecting your desires and start reflecting your history. And living as a version of yourself that you did not consciously choose is one of the greatest human losses. The cost of silence. Many people stop choosing long before they realize it. They stop defending themselves. They stop expressing needs. They stop dreaming. They stop challenging injustice. They stop asking for better. They stop saying no. They stop saying yes. They stop participating in the construction of their own lives. Silence becomes a habit, and then a personality. But silence is not peace. It is self-abandonment. And the cost is a life that feels hollow, a life where you are present but not participating. The beautiful truth behind the cost. The hidden cost of automatic choices is not meant to shame you. It is meant to wake you, to show you that your life is not defined by what has already been chosen, but by what you choose next. Automatic choices are powerful because they hide in darkness, but conscious choices are powerful because they bring light. And the moment you begin to see the cost clearly, the moment you finally understand what your unconscious patterns have taken from you, is the exact moment you regain control. Not control over the world, not control over outcomes, but control over yourself. And that is where your new life begins. Emotional triggers behind your decisions. Before you ever make a choice, your emotions make a suggestion, a quiet push, a subtle pull, a familiar tension in the chest, a sudden rush in the stomach, a tightening of the jaw, a silence you didn't expect, a fear you can't explain. Most people think emotions are reactions, but in reality, they are instructions. Your mind doesn't say, "Here is the right decision." It says, "Here is what your emotions want." And emotions, they come from places you rarely examine. Fear, the most common decision maker. Fear is fast. Fear is loud. Fear is convincing. It tells you, don't try, don't ask, don't confront, don't walk away, don't speak up, don't take the risk. Fear creates a false logic that keeps you exactly where you are. And every time you obey it, your life becomes smaller, not because you lack potential, but because fear made the decision before courage even appeared. Anger, the impulsive decision maker. Anger doesn't choose wisely. It chooses quickly. It pushes you toward words. You can't take it back. It pushes you into silence that damages trust. It pushes you to protect your ego at the cost of the relationship. It pushes you to react instead of understanding. Anger gives the illusion of power, but takes real power away. Every decision made in anger creates a consequence the calm version of you will have to face. Loneliness, the desperate decision maker. Loneliness whispers, stay, even when you shouldn't. Accept less than you deserve. Hold on to people who drain you. Keep relationships alive that should have ended long ago. Loneliness makes you choose company over peace, attention over respect, closeness over dignity. It convinces you that having someone, anyone, is safer than having yourself. Guilt, the manipulative decision maker. Guilt shapes choices quietly. You say yes when your heart wants to say no. You carry responsibilities that are not yours. You sacrifice your well-being to avoid disappointing others. Guilt forces you into decisions that betrays your own needs. It is not morality. It is emotional pressure. Past trauma, the invisible decision maker. Trauma teaches the mind to expect danger, even where there is none. So you withdraw from people who care. You block opportunities that requires trust. You overreact to small signs of uncertainty. You choose safety over growth. You choose distance over connection. You choose survival over living. Trauma doesn't ask permission. It simply pulls the strings. Emotional decisions feel right, but are rarely right. Your emotions are not enemies, but they are not reliable guides. They are messengers, signals, clues about what is happening inside you, not instructions for what you must do next. Emotions tell you where you are wounded, not where you belong. They tell you what triggered you, not what is true. They tell you what feels familiar, not what is healthy. This is why emotional choices feel right in the moment, but feel wrong after the moment has passed. The beautiful truth about emotions and choices: you cannot stop emotions from arising. They come from history, from instinct, from survival, from experience. But you can stop emotions from choosing for you. That is where maturity begins, not in controlling what you feel, but in choosing what you do despite what you feel. To pause, to breathe, to wait, to question, to notice, to interrupt, to understand. This pause is the birthplace of freedom. It is the moment your subconscious voice meets your conscious awareness, and your future is no longer written by your past. When emotions stop choosing for you, you finally begin to choose for yourself. Why we choose what hurts us. No one wakes up and says, "I want to choose something that will hurt me." Yet somehow, human beings repeatedly walk toward the same pain, the same toxic patterns, the same draining relationships, the same emotional wounds, the same destructive habits, the same inner battles that they promised they would never return to. Why? Why do intelligent, experienced, mature people continue choosing what damages them? The answer is simple, but deeply uncomfortable. You choose what hurts you because it feels familiar. The mind is not designed to seek happiness. It is designed to seek what it recognizes. And if your history is filled with instability, criticism, abandonment, chaos, one-sided relationships, emotional neglect, or the feeling of being unseen, then pain becomes familiar, and familiar feels safe, even when it destroys you. You choose patterns that feel like home. A person raised around anger often ends up with partners who cannot control theirs. A person who grew up seeking approval often chooses people who never give it freely. A person who learned to stay quiet often finds themselves in relationships where their voice doesn't matter. A person who felt invisible as a child often falls in love with people who don't see them fully. You don't choose pain consciously. You choose what feels emotionally familiar, because the heart confuses familiarity with safety. And so the cycle continues, not because you want it, but because part of you still believes you deserve no better than what you used to receive. You choose what matches your self-image. Your choices mirror the way you see yourself. If you believe you are not enough, you choose people who makes you prove your worth. If you believe you must earn love, you choose relationships that requires endless effort. If you believe you are difficult to love, you choose partners who confirm that belief. If you see yourself as replaceable, you accept behavior that treats you as such. People don't choose based on what they want. They choose based on who they think they are. You choose pain when healing feels scarier. Healing is uncomfortable. It demands reflection, boundaries, growth, self-respect, and facing your emotional truth without excuses. Pain, on the other hand, requires nothing new. It only requires that you continue repeating what you already know. And for many people, the familiarity of pain feels safer than the uncertainty of healing. This is why cycles repeat, not because people enjoy suffering, but because change feels threatening to the wounded parts of their identity. You choose what you think you deserve. Deep down, human beings always choose what matches their sense of worth. If you believe you deserve stability, you stop entertaining chaos. If you believe you deserve respect, you stop giving unlimited chances. If you believe you deserve love, you stop settling for attention. If you believe you deserve peace, you stop negotiating with inconsistency. But if your worth was damaged early in life, your choices get shaped by that damage. Not because you are weak, but because you were never shown anything better. You choose pain because it doesn't surprise you. Healthy love surprises people. Kindness surprises people. Consistency surprises people. Support surprises people. Gentle communication surprises people. But pain? Pain doesn't surprise anyone. It is predictable. It is expected. It is familiar. When something painful happens, you tell yourself, "I knew it." Of course, this always happens to me. Pain confirms your worldview. Healing challenges it, and human beings cling to whatever confirms their beliefs about life. The beautiful truth. You don't choose pain because you want to suffer. You choose it because it is familiar, predictable, and emotionally recognizable. But being familiar is not the same as being healthy. Recognizable is not the same as right. Comfortable is not the same as good for you. And the moment you understand why you choose what hurts you, you gain the power to choose differently. Because awareness breaks unconscious loyalty to old wounds. When you finally see the pattern, its hold weakens. When the hold weakens, freedom begins. And when freedom begins, your life can no longer repeat the same story. Accountability, the turning point. Every life reaches a moment when the old explanations stop working. You can no longer blame your past, your parents, your childhood, your circumstances, your environment, or the people who hurt you. Not because they weren't real, they were. Not because they didn't shape you, they did. But because at some point, the question changes from, who caused this, to what am I choosing now? This is accountability. The moment your life stops moving automatically and begins moving intentionally, you are not responsible for what happened to you. Life hands you experiences you never asked for, pain you didn't deserve, abandonment you didn't expect, disappointments you didn't earn, chaos you didn't create, loss you weren't ready for, trauma you didn't choose. You are not responsible for the wounds that life delivered to your door, but you are responsible for what you do with them. Your pain is not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. Your story begins with circumstances, but it continues with choices. You can't control the first impulse, but you can control the next move. The first rush of anger, the first wave of fear, the first moment of insecurity, the first instinct to withdraw. These reactions rise automatically from older versions of you. You didn't choose them, they were programmed. But what you choose after that impulse, that is where your power lives. Do you react? Do you repeat? Do you run? Do you shut down? Do you defend your ego? Do you blame someone else? Do you avoid responsibility? Do you choose silence when honesty is required? Or do you pause long enough to ask, what is the next right move? What would my wiser self choose? What choice aligns with the person I want to become? This pause is the difference between repeating your past and creating your future. Accountability. ICE, not blame. ITIS, ownership. Blame looks backward. Accountability looks forward. Blame says, this happened because of them. Accountability says, this will be different because of me. Blame keeps you weak. Accountability makes you powerful. Blame repeats cycles. Accountability breaks them. It does not matter how unfair your past was. You still have choices in your present. And your present is what shapes everything that comes next. You stop making excuses to protect old patterns. When accountability enters your life, you begin to lose interest in your own excuses. You stop saying, this is just how I am. They made me do it. I can't help it. I don't have a choice. It's too late for me. This is my nature. Because maturity teaches you, you are not your patterns. You are the person who can interrupt them. And once you recognize that you have a choice, your excuses lose their power to control your life. Accountability. ICE, the first step of freedom. Freedom does not come from controlling everything. Freedom comes from owning the one thing you can always control, your response. You cannot erase your history, but you can rewrite your direction. You cannot undo your wounds, but you can decide they will not define your identity. You cannot avoid every struggle, but you can choose how you rise from each one. The moment you stop waiting for life to change and begin changing yourself, you become unstoppable. The beautiful truth. Accountability is not a burden. It is a doorway to emotional adulthood, a doorway to self-respect, a doorway to internal stability, a doorway to intentional living. Because life doesn't change when circumstances change. Life changes when you begin choosing differently, and accountability is the moment you finally take the pen back into your own hands. How small choices create big identity. People believe their life is shaped by the major decisions: which career to choose, whom to marry, where to live, when to start over, what dreams to follow. But the truth is quieter, simpler, And far more powerful, your life is not built by the big choices you make occasionally, but by the small choices you make repeatedly, the tiny decisions, the unnoticed habits, the silent reactions, the quick responses, the routines you never question, the impulses you obey without thinking, the emotions you let lead the way, the thoughts you allow to stay, the boundaries you fail to set, the conversations you avoid, the meaning you attach to events, the choices you make when no one is watching. These small choices do not simply affect your life, they shape your identity. Identity is built in micro moments. Identity is not a grand declaration. It is not a single breakthrough. It is not a dramatic transformation. Identity is formed in the quiet places of your daily life. Who you become comes from the moment you choose patience over anger, the moment you choose honesty over comfort, the moment you choose discipline over impulse, the moment you choose rest over guilt, the moment you choose boundaries over approval, the moment you choose growth over familiarity, the moment you choose truth over convenience. These micro moments are the building blocks of character. You don't become strong overnight. You become strong each time you act with strength in a small moment. You don't become confident overnight. You become confident each time you choose self-respect over self-doubt. You don't become wise overnight. You become wise by noticing patterns before repeating them. Identity is not built in a day, but it is built daily. The power of repeated choices. Every repeated choice carves a pathway in your mind. These pathways become habits. Habits become patterns. Patterns become identity. Identity becomes destiny. This is why small choices matter so much. Because your future is built by repetition, not by intention. If you repeat avoidance, you become someone who runs from discomfort. If you repeat self-neglect, you become someone who believes they are unworthy. If you repeat anger, you become someone who reacts instead of understands. If you repeat silence, you become someone who hides from your own truth. If you repeat self-discipline, you become someone capable of shaping your life. Your identity grows in the direction of your repetition. Small choices are honest reflections of who you really are. You can hide behind big goals, big dreams, big promises. But your small choices tell the real story. What matters to you, what you prioritize, who you respect, what you tolerate, how you treat yourself, how you treat others, where you invest your time, what you avoid, what you pursue. You are not defined by the big ambitions you speak aloud. You are defined by the small choices you make in silence. Small choices quietly change your future. A single conversation can change a relationship. A single no can restore your dignity. A single boundary can protect your peace. A single habit can redirect your health. A single moment of clarity can rewrite your self-worth. A single brave decision can end a lifelong pattern. Small choices act like small hinges, but they open big doors. The beautiful truth: you don't need a massive breakthrough to change your life. You need one small conscious choice, repeated consistently. A new identity is not built by dramatic decisions, but by daily decisions. And every time you make a choice that aligns with the person you want to become, your future shifts, 1 degree at a time, when choosing not to choose is a choice. There is a quiet truth most people never learn. Not choosing is still a choice, a powerful one, a costly one, a choice that shapes your life just as much, and sometimes much more, than the decisions you consciously make. People assume that by postponing a decision, they are buying time, but the reality is harsh. When you don't choose, life chooses for you, and life does not always choose kindly. Indecision 1's a decision. When you delay a boundary, you choose to stay unprotected. When you avoid a conversation, you choose misunderstanding. When you stay silent, you choose to be unheard. When you refuse to walk away, you choose to remain where you don't belong. When you don't decide your future, you choose your past. Indecision feels passive, but it is one of the most active forces shaping your destiny. It is not harmless. It is not neutral. It is not temporary. Indecision is direction, a direction you rarely want. Avoidance doesn't preserve peace. IT destroys IT. People avoid decisions because they want to protect peace. But peace does not come from avoiding hard choices, it comes from making them. Avoidance creates chaos that grows quietly. Unspoken expectations, hidden resentment, emotional distance, lost opportunities, lingering uncertainty, delayed growth, increasing frustration. What you avoid today does not disappear. It simply waits and grows heavier. Avoidance is not protection. It is a postponement of pain. Life moves forward even when you don't. The world does not pause because you are unsure. Relationships evolve. Opportunities expire. People change. Circumstances shift. Time continues. And every moment creates consequences. You may think that by standing still, you are preventing loss. But standing still often creates the loss you were trying to avoid. Not choosing can cost you more than choosing wrongly. Fear disguised as patience. Many people say, "I'm waiting for the right moment. I need more time. I'll decide soon. Maybe things will get clearer." But often, this is not patience. It is fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of responsibility. Fear of disappointment. Fear of failure. Fear of change. Fear of consequences. Fear creates a comfortable lie. If I don't choose, nothing bad will happen. But the truth is different. If you don't choose, nothing good will happen either. The weight of unmade decisions. Decisions you avoid follow you. They fill your mind with quiet tension. They drain your energy. They steal your clarity. They create emotional clutter. They make simple days complicated. They turn small problems into large ones. Unmade decisions are like open windows, letting discomfort in and letting peace out. Closing the window is often easier than we imagine. The beautiful truth: choosing not to choose is one of the most common human decisions, but it is also one of the easiest to change. You may not be able to choose perfectly. You may not be able to control every outcome. You may not be able to guarantee success, but you can choose direction. You can choose the truth. You can choose courage. You can choose maturity. You can choose clarity. You can choose movement. Your life does not require a perfect decision. It requires a present decision. Because the moment you choose, even slightly, your future shifts. And choosing late is always better than not choosing at all. Environment, the invisible influencer. You may believe that your choices come from your thoughts, your values, your intentions, your experiences, but there is another force, silent, powerful, constant, that shapes your decisions far more than you realize. Your environment, the people around you, the energy of the spaces you live in, the conversations you hear, the habits of those you spend time with, the expectations you absorb quietly, the values you never question because everyone around you shares them. The environment does not ask for permission. It simply influences, and you follow, not consciously, but naturally. Your environment shapes your normal. Human beings adapt to whatever surrounds them, not because they are weak, but because adaptation is survival. Wherever you stay long enough, that place becomes your definition of normal. If you live around anger, your reactions become sharper. If you live around fear, your choices become smaller. If you live around gossip, your conversations grow shallow. If you live around ambition, your dreams expand. If you live around stability, your decisions become grounded. If you live around negativity, your mind becomes heavy. If you live around kindness, your heart becomes open. Your environment does not just influence you, it trains you. You become like the people you spend time with, not intentionally, not consciously, but inevitably. Their emotional language becomes yours. Their way of handling conflict becomes your default. Their lifestyle shapes your expectations. Their thinking sets silent standards in your mind. If you surround yourself with people who avoid responsibility, you begin to avoid it too. If you surround yourself with people who blame the world, you begin to blame them. If you surround yourself with people who think small, your dreams shrink. If you surround yourself with people who choose growth, you begin to expand. The environment does not allow neutrality. It molds you whether you resist it or not. Social pressure creates hidden choices. Many decisions you make are not based on truth. They are based on belonging. Humans are social creatures. They adjust their behavior to maintain acceptance. This is why people stay in unhealthy relationships, tolerate disrespect, follow family expectations they hate, pretend to be someone they are not, hide their real desires, limit their own success, dim their light to fit in, not because these are conscious choices, but because losing belonging feels more painful than losing freedom. Belonging influences choices more than logic ever will. Digital environment is shaping you too. Your phone is an environment. Your feed is an environment. Your social platforms are emotional ecosystems that shapes your behavior. They influence your attention span, your confidence, your beliefs, your desires, your insecurities, your worries, your expectations, your spending, your values. The more time you spend in these environments, the more they become your invisible teachers. Without realizing, you begin choosing what the digital world rewards, not what your soul requires. Environment decides before you do. Before you choose a lifestyle, your environment has already influenced what lifestyle seems realistic. Before you choose a partner, your environment shapes what love should look like. Before you choose a belief, your environment defines what is acceptable. Before you choose a reaction, your environment dictates what feels appropriate. Your environment does not decide everything, but it decides first, and most people live inside decisions. They never truly made it. The beautiful truth. If your environment can shape you unconsciously, then changing your environment can reshape you consciously. Sometimes the biggest change is not a new decision, but a new environment, a new room, a new routine, a new community, a new circle, a new standard, a new atmosphere, a new conversation, a new energy. When you change your environment changes your decisions, and when your decisions change, your life cannot stay the same. Reprogramming the hidden patterns. Once you finally see the patterns that have been choosing for you, the emotional loops, the childhood scripts, the familiar wounds, the inherited fears, the unconscious habits, a new question appears. If these patterns control my life, can I change them? The answer is yes, but not through force, not through willpower, not through sudden transformation. Patterns don't respond to pressure, they respond to awareness. Reprogramming begins not when you fight the old pattern, but when you stop obeying it. Step 1. Slow the mind so you can see the pattern. Patterns survive through speed. They activate fast, they react fast, they choose fast. So the first act of reprogramming is slowing down. A single pause can interrupt years of conditioning. When you pause, the subconscious loses control. The automatic reaction dissolves. The emotional reflex weakens, and your conscious mind enters the room. This pause is your first moment of freedom. Step 2. Name the pattern without judgment. Judgment strengthens patterns. Awareness weakens them. Instead of saying, "I always ruin things," "I'm too emotional," "I overthink everything," "I react badly," say, "This is a pattern. This emotion is familiar. This reaction has history. This choice comes from somewhere." When you name a pattern, you separate yourself from it. You are not the pattern, you are the observer of the pattern, and the observer always has more power than the behavior. Step 3. Question the original source. Patterns began somewhere. A childhood moment, a painful memory, a survival strategy, an emotional lesson, a repeated experience, a fear you learned early, a belief someone gave you, a story you accepted unconsciously. Ask yourself, who taught me to react this way? Where did this belief come from? Whose voice am I living with? Is this fear mine or inherited? Does this reaction belong to my present or my past? Most patterns lose their power the moment their origin becomes clear. Step 4. Give yourself a new response. Patterns repeat because you have never replaced them. You cannot remove a pattern without offering your mind a new alternative. So you ask, what would my wiser self choose here? What would a peaceful version of me choose? What choice aligns with my future, not my past? Then you practice it, not perfectly, not instantly, but consistently. Each new response creates a new neural pathway, a new way of being. Step 5. Practice until the new pattern feels natural. Your old patterns feel powerful because they are familiar, not because they are true. Repetition built them. Repetition can replace them. Every time you choose courage instead of fear, truth instead of avoidance, boundaries instead of guilt, patience instead of anger, self-respect instead of approval, you strengthen a new pattern. Eventually, the familiar becomes unfamiliar, and the unfamiliar becomes your new normal. Step 6. Align your environment with your new patterns. You cannot reprogram yourself while living in an environment that reinforces the old version of you. To grow, you need new conversations, new standards, new habits, new surroundings, new influences. You reshape your environment so your environment can help reshape you. Growth is not just internal, it is environmentally friendly. The beautiful truth. Patterns are powerful, but they are not permanent. They feel like destiny only until you begin to question them. The moment you disrupt a pattern, you reclaim choice. The moment you reclaim choice, you reclaim identity. The moment you reclaim identity, you reclaim your life. Reprogramming is not erasing who you were, it is becoming who you were meant to be before the world taught you otherwise. And every conscious choice you make rewrites a small part of your future. One choice at a time. One moment at a time. One new pattern at a time. The power of deliberate choices. Once you learn to interrupt the patterns that we were choosing for you, a new kind of decision-making becomes possible. For the first time, you are not reacting, you are choosing, not automatically, not emotionally, not out of habit, not from fear, not from old wounds, but with intention. This is the birth of deliberate choice, the moment your life stops being something that happens to you and becomes something you actively shape. Deliberate choice. One's the opposite of impulse. Impulsive choices are fast, emotional, uncontrolled, and often regretted. Deliberate choices are slow, grounded, thoughtful, and deeply aligned. Impulsive choice asks, what do I feel right now? Deliberate choice asks, what do I want long term? Impulsive choice protects the moment. Deliberate choice protects the future. And your future deserves protection. Deliberate choices require self-honesty. You cannot choose deliberately while lying to yourself. You must face the truth about what you want, what you're avoiding, what you fear losing, and what you truly value. This honesty is uncomfortable, but without it, your choices become blurry. Most people avoid this step. They choose from confusion and call it destiny. They choose from fear and call it caution. They choose from habit and call it personality. Deliberate choice begins when you begin telling yourself the truth. Deliberate choices reshape your identity. Every intentional decision reinforces the kind of person you are becoming. When you choose courage, you become courageous. When you choose boundaries, you become stable. When you choose discipline, you become reliable. When you choose reflection, you become wise. When you choose peace, you become grounded. When you choose self-respect, you become whole. Identity is not found, it is built choice by choice. Deliberate choices change your relationships. When you begin choosing intentionally, you stop accepting half-hearted love, tolerating disrespect, explaining your worth, entertaining inconsistency, keeping people who drain your spirit, staying silent to avoid conflict, shrinking yourself to fit into small spaces. Instead, you begin choosing clarity, honesty, emotional maturity, healthier boundaries, reciprocal relationships, meaningful conversations, people who value your presence. Your relationships transform because your standards change, and your standards change because your choices change. Deliberate choices expand your future. When life is ruled by old patterns, your future looks predictable. The same loops, the same outcomes, the same emotional circles. But deliberate choices break repetition. A single intentional decision can open a path you never knew existed. A new habit can change your health. A new boundary can change your peace. A new relationship choice can change your emotional life. A new mindset can change your possibilities. The smallest deliberate change can redirect the largest parts of your life. Deliberate choices require courage. Choosing deliberately means choosing without guarantees. No guaranteed approval. No guaranteed success. No guaranteed comfort. No guaranteed clarity. But deliberate choice is not about certainty. It is about alignment. It is choosing what supports your growth, your integrity, your future, your peace, even when it feels unfamiliar. Courage does not mean you feel no fear. Courage means you choose despite fear. The beautiful truth: you were born with the ability to choose, but you forgot how because your patterns chose for you. Now you see the patterns. Now you understand the scripts. Now you recognize the triggers. Now you can pause. Now you can reflect. Now you can decide. Deliberate choices are proof that you are no longer living as an unconscious continuation of your past. You are living as a conscious creator of your future. And the moment you begin choosing with intention, your entire life begins to move in a direction you finally recognize it as your own. Choices that strengthen identity. Strength is not built in a single decision. It is built in a series of choices, quiet, consistent, deliberate, that align with the person you are becoming. Most people want confidence, clarity, stability, respect, and inner peace. But they make choices that contradict the identity they want to build. Your identity grows stronger when your choices match your values, not your impulses. Choice 1. Choosing truth over comfort. You strengthen your identity every time you choose honesty, with yourself and with others. Truth is uncomfortable. Truth disrupts old habits. Truth exposes old wounds. Truth demands courage. But truth clarifies your direction. People who consistently choose truth develop a personality that cannot be manipulated by fear, confusion, or pressure. Truth becomes their anchor. Choice 2. Choosing boundaries over approval. Approval feels good. Boundaries feel difficult. But approval gives temporary relief. Boundaries give lifelong peace. When you say no to what drains your energy, to what disrespects your worth, to what pulls you away from your goals, you build an identity that is firm, confident, and emotionally stable. Boundaries are not walls. They are definitions of self-respect. Choice 3. Choosing consistency over motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Consistency builds character. Every time you follow through, even when you don't feel like it, you reinforce the belief that you can rely on yourself. Consistency is identity training. It tells your mind, I keep my promises. I follow through. I can be trusted by myself. A strong identity is built on self-trust. Choice 4. Choosing growth over familiarity. Familiarity feels safe, even when it is limiting. Growth feels uncomfortable, even when it is right. When you choose growth, a new skill, a new boundary, a new habit, a new mindset, you expand your identity. You stop living as the older version of yourself and begin living as the version you were meant to become. Growth is the ultimate identity upgrade. Choice 5. Choosing responsibility over blame. Blame keeps you stuck. Responsibility moves you forward. Every time you shift your mindset from, why is this happening to me, to what can I choose next, you take ownership of your direction. Responsibility is not punishment, it is empowerment. It means your life is no longer in the hands of your past. Choice 6. Choosing self-respect over self-doubt. Self-doubt is loud. Self-respect is quiet. Self-doubt asks, what if I'm not enough? Self-respect answers, I decide what I deserve. When you choose to act from self-respect, not insecurity, your entire emotional landscape changes. You walk differently. You speak differently. You choose differently. And people treat you based on the choices you make about yourself. Choice 7. Choosing peace over drama. Drama is addictive. Chaos is familiar. Conflict is stimulating. But peace is maturity. When you choose peace, you walk away from unnecessary battles. You stop engaging with negativity. You refuse to participate in cycles that lead nowhere. You protect your emotional energy. Peace strengthens identity because it shows you that your worth is not tied to noise or conflict. Choice 8. Choosing alignment over impulse. Alignment means choosing what your future self. I will thank you for it. Impulse chooses the moment. Alignment chooses the direction. Impulse protects comfort. Alignment protects purpose. Every aligned choice you make reinforces a version of you that is wise, grounded, and intentional. The beautiful truth. Identity is not something you discover. It is something you build, choice by choice. Every aligned decision creates a stronger version of you. Every honest decision creates a clearer version of you. Every disciplined decision creates a more powerful version of you. Every boundary creates a more confident version of you. And eventually, your identity becomes unshakable, because it was built by conscious decisions, not unconscious patterns. Choices that sabotage identity. Identity is not only built by the choices you make, it is also damaged by the choices you tolerate. Most people do not lose themselves in one dramatic moment. They lose themselves slowly, quietly, choice by choice, in ways they do not notice, until they look back and realize they have become a stranger to their own potential. Let's explore the choices that sabotage identity, not violently, but silently. Choice 1. Choosing approval over authenticity. Every time you abandon your truth to please others, your identity weakens. When you say yes, while your heart says no, when you hide your needs to avoid disappointing someone, when you shape yourself to fit expectations, you teach your mind that your voice doesn't matter. Approval may feel good temporarily, but it slowly erases your sense of self. Choice 2. Choosing avoidance over honesty. Hard conversations shape identity. Avoiding them destroys it. When you avoid conflict, avoid responsibility, avoid accountability, avoid clarity, you lose the opportunity to grow into a stronger, clearer version of yourself. Avoidance protects discomfort, not dignity. Choice 3. Choosing impulse over intention. Impulse is seductive. It gives instant relief, instant pleasure, instant distraction. But impulsive choices rarely align with your future. They drain energy, break discipline, create emotional regret, and build a version of you that feels out of control. Every impulsive decision moves you further away from your identity and closer to your patterns. Choice 4. Choosing comfort over growth. Comfort feels good, but it is a silent trap. When you choose what is easy over what is meaningful, you shrink your life to the size of your fears. Comfort doesn't strengthen identity, it weakens it, because you cannot become who you are meant to be while staying exactly where you already are. Choice 5. Choosing to stay in unhealthy environments. Environments shape behavior, and staying in a place that damages your peace, your confidence, your values, your energy, slowly erodes the core of who you are. You don't lose identity in one moment. You lose it by staying in places that require you to abandon yourself. Choice 6. Choosing silence over self-respect. Silence is powerful when used for reflection, but destructive when used for self-erasure. When you silence your needs, your opinions, your pain, your boundaries, you begin to disappear inside your own life. Others cannot value you if you refuse to value yourself. Choice 7. Choosing short-term relief over long-term identity. Short-term relief looks like avoiding the task, avoiding the talk, avoiding the truth, avoiding responsibility. It gives momentary peace, but long-term damage. Identity is not built by escaping discomfort. It is built by facing it. Choice 8. Choosing old stories over new possibilities. Many people sabotage themselves by living inside narratives that are no longer true. I'm not capable. I always fail. Nothing works out for me. It's too late to change. I don't deserve better. These old stories keep you loyal to your past and prevent you from choosing a future that could redefine everything. Your identity stays small because your choices are based on a version of you that no longer exists. The beautiful truth: identity is fragile when built on autopilot, but identity becomes powerful when built with intention. Every sabotaging choice is an opportunity, an invitation to choose differently. You are not defined by the choices that weakened you. You are defined by the moment you decide to stop weakening yourself. And once you begin choosing from clarity, truth, and self-respect, your identity grows stronger than any pattern that ever tried to control you. Learning to choose yourself. There comes a moment in every life when you realize something quietly devastating. You have spent years choosing everything except yourself. You chose responsibility over rest. You chose silence over truth. You chose guilt over boundaries. You chose familiar pain over unfamiliar peace. You chose people who never chose you back. You chose shame over healing. You chose fear over possibility. And somewhere in that long list of choices, you disappeared. Not physically, not visibly, but emotionally. You stopped existing as the main character of your own life. Part of becoming mature is finally recognizing this truth. You cannot create a meaningful life if you never choose yourself. You learn to choose your needs without apology. Choosing yourself does not mean being selfish. It means recognizing that your needs matter just as much as everyone else's. It means resting before exhaustion destroys you. It means eating, sleeping, and caring for your body as if it belongs to someone you love. It means admitting when you are hurting instead of pretending to be fine. It means allowing yourself to say, "I matter too," because you do. You learn to choose your peace over chaos. When you're younger, drama feels exciting. Chaos feels normal. Toxicity feels familiar. Loud emotions feel like connection. But as you grow, you realize peace is not boring. Peace is oxygen. You begin walking away from people who thrive on conflict. You stop entertaining situations that steals your clarity. You stop reopening old wounds just because the past knocks loudly. Peace becomes your new priority, and protecting it becomes your strength. You learn to choose your voice over silence. You stop shrinking to keep others comfortable. You stop hiding your opinions to avoid tension. You stop swallowing your truth to maintain a connection that wasn't real to begin with. Choosing yourself means choosing your voice, even when it shakes, even when others disapprove, even when it disrupts the old dynamics. Silence may have protected you once, but now your voice is what will free you. You learn to choose your worth over approval. Approval feels sweet, but it comes with chains. When you depend on validation, other people become the architects of your identity. Choosing yourself means you stop begging for emotional crumbs. You stop proving your worth. You stop over-explaining. You stop tolerating behavior that insults your dignity. Your worth is not a negotiation. It is true. You learn to choose relationships that choose you back. You stop chasing. You stop convincing. You stop fixing people who refuse to heal their own wounds. You stop investing energy into emotional one-way streets. Choosing yourself means choosing relationships with reciprocity. People who listen, not just speak. People who show up, not just promises. People who invest, not just consume. People who value you without needing to be reminded. You learn to prefer being alone over being half-loved. You learn to choose growth over comfort. Comfort feels safe, but it also keeps you small. Choosing yourself means choosing what challenges you, what expands you, what deepens you, what moves you closer to your potential. You stop living as the person your past created and start becoming the person your future requires. Growth is not always pleasant, but it is always worth it. The beautiful truth: learning to choose yourself is not a selfish act. It is an act of responsibility, because the world only benefits from the version of you that is whole, grounded, respected, clear, and emotionally alive. You cannot pour from emptiness. You cannot love from wounds. You cannot lead from exhaustion. You cannot grow from denial. Choosing yourself is choosing the life you were meant to live. And once you begin doing that, every other choice in your life finally begins to make sense. Redesigning your life through conscious choice. Once you begin to see your patterns, interrupt your impulses, strengthen your identity, and learn to choose yourself, a new possibility opens. You can redesign your entire life with conscious choices, not by erasing the past, not by pretending trauma never existed, not by becoming someone artificial, but by becoming someone intentional. Your past shaped you, but it does not have to shape who you become next. Life redesign begins with a new standard. Every life is built on its standards. What you tolerate, what you allow, what you normalize, what you accept quietly, and what you reject loudly. When your standards rise, your destiny rises with them. A new standard can be simple. I will no longer apologize for my needs. I will no longer carry responsibility that isn't mine. I will no longer stay where I feel unseen. I will no longer repeat the patterns that hurt me. I will no longer surrender my peace to anyone. These are not rules, they are foundations. A life redesign begins the moment you refuse to live on your old terms. The power of conscious habits. Your future does not change because you want it to. It changes because you practice it. One deliberate habit can redirect a decade. Waking up early, journaling, meditation, exercise, reading, learning a new skill, creating boundaries, daily reflection. Each of these is a conscious vote for the future you are building. Habits are the architecture of a redesigned life, breaking emotional loops. A redesigned life cannot exist within old emotional loops. You must break the cycles, reacting instead of responding, fearing instead of trusting, avoiding instead of addressing, pleasing instead of expressing, doubting instead of deciding, reliving instead of releasing. These loops do not break because time passes, they break because you choose differently. Maturity is not a number, it is an emotional choice. Setting boundaries that match your future, not your past. Your past accepted too much. Your past tolerated too much. Your past made excuses to keep people comfortable while you remained uncomfortable. But your future needs stronger boundaries. Boundaries that reflect your worth. Boundaries that protect your peace. Boundaries that honor your growth. Boundaries that stop emotional leakage. Boundaries that match the person you are becoming. Your boundaries are instructions for how the world must treat you. Choosing relationships that elevate you. The next stage of your life depends heavily on who stands beside you. Your redesigned life cannot include people who drain you, people who belittle you, people who break your trust, people who ignite your insecurities, people who sabotage your peace. Your redesigned life needs people who listen, people who understand, people who support, people who challenge you, people who choose you back, people who want the best for you without insecurity or jealousy. A new life requires a new circle, rewriting your internal narrative. At the core of every redesigned life is a rewritten story, the story you tell yourself, the story of possibility instead of limitation, the story of strength instead of helplessness, the story of healing instead of survival, the story of intention instead of chaos, the story of truth instead of fear. You are not defined by the story you inherited. You are defined by the story you choose now. The beautiful truth. Redesigning your life is not dramatic. It is deliberate. It happens one choice at a time, one habit at a time, one boundary at a time, one new belief at a time, one act of clarity at a time, one moment of courage at a time. Your past made you strong, but your choices will make you whole. And once you begin living your life consciously, your future becomes something you no longer fear. It becomes something you are proud to create. Your choices build your destiny. In the end, every life becomes a reflection of the choices that shaped it. Not fate, not luck, not coincidence, not circumstance, but choices. Some made consciously, many made unconsciously, a few made courageously, and countless made by default. When you look back on your life, you won't remember every detail of every day, but you will recognize the patterns, the decisions that repeated, until they became your identity. You will see the moments you moved forward and the moments you held yourself back. You will see the relationships you chose to keep and the ones you needed to let go. You will see the opportunities you accepted and the ones you convinced yourself you weren't ready for. You will see the boundaries you created and the ones you were too afraid to enforce. You will see the habits that lifted you and the habits that carried you in circles. Every choice left a mark. Destiny, that's not written in the stars. It's written in daily decisions. People often wait for signs, clarity, certainty, or the right time. But destiny is not something you discover one day. It is something you build slowly through the choices you make when no one is paying attention. Destiny is built when you choose truth instead of denial. Destiny is built when you choose courage instead of panic. Destiny is built when you choose responsibility instead of excuses. Destiny is built when you choose boundaries instead of approval. Destiny is built when you choose consistency instead of comfort. Destiny is built when you choose yourself instead of abandoning your needs. Your future is not waiting. It is responding. The price of unconscious choices. When you choose automatically, you don't guide your life. You drift through it. Unconscious choices steal years, limit potential, create repeated pain, and keep you tied to old versions of yourself. You wake up someday and realize you didn't live intentionally. You lived by default. This realization hurts, but it also awakens you, because the moment you see what unconscious choices have cost you, you become fiercely committed to conscious ones. Conscious choice. Once the beginning of freedom. Freedom is not the absence of rules. Freedom is the presence of clarity. It's knowing what you want, what you no longer want, what you will not tolerate, what you value, what you prioritize, what aligns with your future, what destroys your peace, what nourishes your identity. Freedom grows every time you choose with awareness. Every conscious choice breaks a chain from the past. Every conscious choice opens a doorway into the future. Every conscious choice shifts the trajectory of your life. Conscious choice is power, the quiet kind, the deep kind, the mature kind, the beautiful truth. Your life is created not by the rare dramatic decisions, but by the small repeated ones. And now, you are no longer choosing blindly. You are no longer choosing from fear, wounds, or patterns. You are choosing from awareness, from strength, from identity, from responsibility, from clarity. Your choices are no longer echoes of the past. They are blueprints for your future. And when choices change, destiny changes. When intention enters, direction enters. When identity strengthens, boundaries strengthen. When self-respect appears, clarity appears. When you choose differently, your life becomes different. Your future is not written. It is waiting. And the pen, at last, is in your hands. As we reach the end of this book, I want you to pause for a moment. Not to think, but to look inward. Look at the years behind you, not with regret, but with understanding. Every habit you formed, every emotion you obeyed, every relationship you kept, every boundary you avoided, every risk you took, every dream you postponed, and every fear you listened to. They were all choices. Some conscious, some inherited, some automatic, some emotional, some shaped by the past, some shaped by pain, some shaped by environments you didn't realize were influencing you. You were choosing even when you believed you weren't. And yet, despite the patterns, despite the cycles, despite the mistakes, despite the years where life felt repetitive or directionless, you arrived here to awareness, to responsibility, to clarity, to a new beginning. Because the moment a person truly sees what has been choosing on their behalf is the moment they begin to choose for themselves. You now carry a power most people never discover, the power to interrupt the impulse, the power to question the pattern, the power to trace the origin, the power to rewrite the script, the power to raise your standards, the power to choose relationships that choose you back, the power to act from identity, not insecurity, the power to design a future that reflects truth, not fear. Your past may have written the first chapters, but your choices will write the rest. And when life feels uncertain, remember this: you don't need perfect clarity to move forward. You only need one conscious choice, made deliberately, repeated consistently, aligned with who you want to become. Because your destiny is not built in a year. It is built in moments, in tiny decisions, in quiet commitments, in everyday choices that shape the architecture of your life. So as you step out of this book and back into your world, carry this truth with you. You are always choosing, and now you are choosing with awareness. Your life is no longer something that happens to you. It is something you are creating. Every choice from this moment forward is a doorway, a direction, a declaration of who you are and who you refuse to be. Choose with courage. Choose with clarity. Choose with intention. Choose with self-respect. Because the future is not waiting. It is responding to the choices you make today.